If you are excited for the Khabib vs Gaethje fight, then be sure to show this by smashing the like button. Welcome back everybody to Keenan K TV. During this lead up to the Khabib vs Gaethje fight, I wanted to take a look back at the common opponents these two champions have had and how both of their performances compare to each other's. Michael Johnson is a very skilled fighter and a veteran of the UFC. It doesn't come as a surprise both Khabib and Justin had to overcome his rabbit-like footwork and lightning-fast hand speed. Being a southpaw fighter, it was difficult for Khabib to get the jabbing range down. Utilizing no kicks, Khabib couldn't simply go to the legs and take away the range and mobility from Michael Johnson. The only way he could close the distance was for him to just go right after him. So he ended up chasing Michael Johnson. However, instead of the ideal cutting off the ring, which means that you are moving parallel to your opponent's movement and not following in his own footsteps, which will give that opponent the room to exit out and circle away. If you are moving parallel to him and cut off the ring, you are gradually closing down the cage onto him and then box him in up against the fence. But this was not what happened with Khabib. It wasn't so much so that Khabib doesn't know how to cut off the ring, but it was more so his lack of offensive striking and footwork that didn't enable him to move ahead and cut off the ring against Michael Johnson. Also, Michael Johnson is a southpaw, very awkward, very fast, moves in and out very quickly, has tremendous hand speed, so Khabib was really working with a difficult moving target in this matchup. He simply couldn't match the footwork and the striking output, so he was left awkwardly trying to find an opening, and this opening wouldn't present itself immediately. Since Michael Johnson's hand speed is pretty fast, he became pretty hard to time. So Khabib gave it some time, which enabled him to read his patterns, which resulted in him finally opening up and intercepting Johnson with a feint up high and a double leg down low. And from there, Khabib's bigger frame came into play. Being bigger and stronger than Michael Johnson, he's naturally going to have the upper hand. But on top of that, what isn't nature's gift is Khabib's grappling ability. Being levels above Michael Johnson in grappling, he was able to pin Michael Johnson in side control his wrists up against the fence, and then laying in that ground and pound. Ultimately, advancing further in side control mount, he was able to sink in the Kimura lock and submit the resilient Michael Johnson. Though Khabib got caught a few times, it was simply something that he had to do because he was not going to have a kickboxing contest with Michael Johnson, so he had to really close in that range and come forward. Johnson had the upper hand for a couple moments, but against a strong come-forward machine like Khabib, it was never going to be a sustainable way of fighting. He was simply delaying the inevitable, because he was neither going to knock him out or keep him off of him. Though Khabib's performance didn't seem pretty, this was the best Khabib could have done, which secured him the victory. If we now move over to Justin Gaethje's performance against Michael Johnson, you will see that just as it was against Khabib, Johnson yet again was the faster fighter in hand speed and footwork. Being able to clip Gaethje as soon as the fight started, it was pretty clear who in this matchup was going to be the quicker fighter. Unlike his fight with Khabib, Michael Johnson had to now worry about something coming back at him. which greatly reduced his confidence and flow in his striking. Justin Gaethje is probably one of, if not the best offensive fighter in the lightweight division. So when Gaethje was presenting techniques Khabib could not, you saw Johnson getting hit a lot more in the striking department. Most notably, the lead leg kick, which took away a lot of mobility from Johnson in the second round, as you could clearly see the pep in his step fade away. Furthermore, unlike Khabib, Gaethje was able to cut off the octagon and box Johnson in pretty much all night long. Gaethje not being afraid of his strikes, he welcomed Johnson's output and simply used his brilliant offensive defense and guarded up, slipped, and rolled with the punches. Obviously playing with fire for the greater good, he also had to take a few significant blows of himself. However, in comparison, these were a lot worse than any blow Khabib took against Johnson, almost being finished. However, Gaethje not backing down and immediately going back to the legs, body and head, he simply pressured Johnson until he could not take it anymore. In comparison, both Khabib and Gaethje utilized offense to smother Johnson. Justin had the clear power advantage and also was naturally a great pressure fighter. Johnson could not keep up, and after getting tagged too many times, he crumbled against Gaethje. Khabib, on the other hand, he did not engage in such a tough battle. He took the success right out of Johnson's hand when he connected with his takedown attempt. From there, Khabib clearly had the easier fight. They both used the same ultimate goal of taking away Johnson's range and smothering him. They both utilized different paths to claim the victory. Khabib got it done by submission and Justin by TKO. Analyzing the Khabib vs Barboza fight, we will see that this was an awesome Khabib performance. Truly, talk about human chess. This was the perfect embodiment of having the perfect game plan and right counterstyle for your opponent. Edson Barboza is a fast twitch kicker. He's got some okay punches in comparison to his kicks, but still, that is not as big of a threat as his kicks are. Knowing that Barboza likes to keep distance and utilize kicks, Khabib simply only had to worry about forcing his way through the kicks and entering the range, which would force Barboza to back off. All the kicks Barboza threw came from the back foot, so they already did not carry any real heat. Even though he made the most out of what he had, it still was not enough to demand Khabib's respect and back him off. And so, Khabib, having no worries coming from the striking department, could not only rush in, but keep Barboza occupied himself with his own striking coming forward. Ultimately backing Barboza up against the fence, Khabib was able to take Barboza down up against the fence and triangle lock his legs and apply steady ground and pound. Most importantly about Khabib, it is about control and making the opponent work out of these positions to tire them out instead of just going all out with the ground and pound, which could create openings for the opponent to scramble out of. And so as the second round opened, Barboza's corner told him to focus on his punches since the kicks were just giving away too much ground. Unfortunately, Barboza is not that great of a boxer, and this only got worse when he had to punch off of his back foot with Khabib coming straight at him. Getting taken down once more, Khabib was able to secure a very one-sided victory by decision. Khabib's ability to fight smart and take away Barboza's game was a massive success, not giving him any room to establish kicking range, which didn't allow him to damage Khabib and keep him off of him. He simply, in the end, suffered the same fate as Michael Johnson. Switching over to Gaethje's performance, he fought a completely different fight compared to Khabib. Barboza, being a known kicker, got challenged by Justin Gaethje's kicks, and as a surprise to many, he was able to beat Barboza at his own game. Getting the better of each leg kick, Justin clearly had the more powerful leg kicks, and each time he landed, it buckled Barboza. Barboza tried to reply, and even landing clean, it still did not match the power Justin Gaethje quite had. Gaethje, knowing that if he wants to finish Barboza, had to close in the distance. Now being in close quarters, he engaged in a clinch and stunned Barboza hard. From there, the end was pretty much near. Gaethje poured it on him and made Barboza escape from the pressure. However, each time, Barboza would make a crucial mistake as he was circling away from the cage. He left his guard low each time he exited, and on the second time, Gaethje got the habit down and crashed him with a right hand, finishing Barboza in the first round very cleanly. Whether Gaethje or Khabib had the better performance, that is up for debate. What isn't, is how they both had the perfect game plan to secure a very dominant victory. I've seen talk going around where the argument was made that Gaethje's leg kicks will be unsuccessful against Khabib since Khabib was able to walk through Barboza's. Now, I don't believe that is an argument that we can apply for the Gaethje-Khabib fight since both Gaethje and Barboza fight very differently. Barboza needs his distance to snap in his kicks. Gaethje, on the other hand, does not. Even in the pocket, he can apply inside and outside leg kicks while still carrying a lot of power behind them, which means that he can kick while not giving up any ground. So with Justin standing his ground and being able to be a tough fighter offensively, that comparison seems to be fairly low in quality and does not really paint an objectively true picture for the Khabib vs Gaethje fight, since Gaethje also has great striking of his own. Khabib just can't simply walk through the kicks or he will get clipped. With that said, let us now move over to the fights where the outcomes were very different. In this matchup, Dustin's timid style kind of worked against him. Since he likes to warm up to his fights, he simply was not active enough to make Khabib worry. Khabib walking down Dustin, he was able to press him up against the fence and take him down where the domination kind of began. However, Poirier did land a clean blow in the second round, but he was unable to follow it up effectively as he got stunned with a quick, sharp Khabib counter hook. From there, the fire in his demeanor faded away and he returned to be a passive fighter. Not being able to get a rhythm down on Khabib's quick footwork and striking, he simply got overwhelmed and submitted in the end. Dustin's style was not a style that would be able to give him a head start against Khabib, because unlike Conor McGregor, he does not immediately come forward and engage and look to KO you. As a result, Khabib's own demeanor of immediately coming forward and getting his own success going was exactly what caught Dustin Poirier cold and costed him the fight. Looking over to how he fought against Gaethje, however, this bout was an amazing MMA contest. Both having awesome success, the fight being back and forth, it ultimately came down to the fact that Dustin's ability to avoid the right hand by circling away from it and snapping in a beautiful counter left straight as Justin Gaethje would go in for the inside leg kick. Every single time disrupting his flow, Dustin Poirier was landing a cleaner work. Now, comparing Dustin to Michael Johnson, you will see that Dustin's calm approach was the deciding factor of him getting the better of Justin in the end, whereas Johnson was too active and was forced to throw back at Gaethje. Dustin, however, was welcoming the offense and roll with the punches to create small openings in which he could counter with. Ultimately, having paced himself better and landing a cleaner work, he was able to stop Gaethje with a beautiful closing sequence. Now, this can all be an example of MMA math not really working or something that you can rely on. For example, Michael Johnson lost to Gaethje by stoppage, but he was able to finish Dustin clean in the first round, and Dustin was able to finish Justin Gaethje. So you never really know how all these different styles will collide against each other. By no means was Gaethje an easy fight for Dustin Poirier. It was exactly this loss that would start to change in Gaethje's game, where he would pace himself a lot better, ultimately going on a terrific run and becoming the interim UFC Lightweight champion, finishing all of his opponents in the process, which included names like James Vick, Cerrone, Barboza, and Tony Ferguson. Now, with all of these fights covered, it will be interesting to see how both of these styles will collide. Khabib hasn't lost in his pro career, so there is not a common opponent I could point to and compare the loss with. However, I believe that Justin Gaethje will be a great challenger. Having great physical strength, awesome leg kicks, and KO power, his offense will be something I look forward to see how Khabib could overcome that. Or will he? In the end, only time will tell what will truly happen. For now, these were only the common opponents between Justin Gaethje and Khabib Nurmagomedov. As always, I've been Keenan from Keenan KTV, signing off. Later.